recordings there, and he's the best person to head up. So finally got Fox Props to load here. We've got Fox Props at DeFi Cafe for being willing to eat a sock if he's wrong. I'm going to be very anxiously awaiting that and hoping we can get that on webcam. And we also have a Fox Props from PTT Cruiser towards Big Fish Joe and Tex for their in-depth bond detail analysis and the conversations that they had here. They came and showed up during the tokenomics call earlier in this week, gave an in-depth analysis and kind of some recommendations around the bond protocol. I agree, it was a great call, and one of the first I've seen of a level of in-depth analysis of their own product that didn't result in some sort of salesmaning pitch at the end of it. So yeah, really cool to see, refreshing, and big Fox props to those DAO contributors for the time that they've spent with tokenomics and others on the bond protocol programs that we've been doing, and the research that they spent in the details of the activity that we've discovered there. Looking in the stage chat for any more Fox props. Yeah, it was very refreshing to hear the protocol say that their recommendation is that they don't use us for a bit. Yeah, it was not something you often hear in one of those kind of prepared decks. So yeah, thanks everyone. This is a time that anyone else who might want to bring Fox props to the stage can also do so in the stage chat or raise their hand. I can bring you up and you can shout out our props. If not, we'll just keep going. All right. Well, I'm gonna get this show on the road then. Got a couple of things that might lead to more discussions. And maybe my slide deck will be better with no action GIFs happening. All right, so we do have one past proposal this week in the call, and that's SCP-121, the roadmap proposal that Diggy proposed. Not sure if you want to come up here and chat about it. It was really straightforward. This is just the roadmap that was decided on by a product that's gone through a couple of governance calls and iterations, allowing people to kind of speak their mind to strategy. But hey, there you are, Diggy. GM.
GM. I feel like I've been on stage a lot today. I don't really have anything else to say. I think I've said enough, and we've had a lot of meetings around this. But excited that it passed, excited that we're already well underway with this new phase 1. And again, yeah, we'll be monitoring and tracking the results and then using that to inform phase 2. So phase 2 is still very much in flux, but super excited. It was really great to see everybody at the DAO Wow, and really happy around all the conversations we had leading up to this proposal. So thanks everybody for your participation and yeah, your feedback and thoughts. Thanks.
Yeah, thanks, Diggy. And again, just to reiterate, this proposal with this roadmap did pass. Earlier in that bounty conversation, there was a lot of digging into strategy that led about why aren't we doing these sort of things, and a lot of times we're pointing right back to this roadmap. So I hope that when and if you might join in on that discussion there, that we use this as kind of the benchmark for what the community has approved and how we might go towards, if we would like to see some change or anything like that, making sure that we're respectful, or making some sort of updates or amendments to these things to keep it going forward in the right direction. So again, thanks, Diggy. And we don't currently have any active proposals, and I'm not going to stay on this page very long because the tumbleweed's just going to screw up my computer. I'm going to keep this slide up for a while because it's really helpful and informative on people who maybe were active in the forum in the old discourse days but haven't switched over to Metaphoro. We're on Metaphoro now. It's a little more Web3 integrated. You can connect your wallet to communicate. There's some information there about transitioning. And right now we are still doing a cross post for all posts in ideation. So if you've done your incubation stage for governance post and you've hit the allotted time slot and you're ready to move it on into ideation, we would do another ideation for the yes/no inside Metaphoro, and we pair it with a post to snapshot so people can actually use Fox to vote for it. And if you are looking for more in-depth details on how to do so, you can check out the links inside this page on this slide. And if you're ever looking for these slides after the call, they are posted inside the recorded meetings channel as soon as we're done here. We've got 2 active ideation posts. So I put together a couple of just highlights from the language that was used in the proposals. The first one we have is SCP 124, which is funding the tokenomics workstream in Q1 and Q2, and reelecting Kent as the leader. So I'll give Kent the stage now to chat about his ideation post. GM, sir.
GM Tyler, how you doing today?
Doing okay. I'm a little staged out, but we're gonna make it.
Staged out. That's a good term. Cool. Well, yeah, I won't belabor the point since I've discussed this a few times already on tokenomics and governance, but this is just the proposal to fund Q1 and Q2 tokenomics. I do a bit of a retro on our past performance and then delve into kind of some general goals. First and foremost around ongoing runway preservation, also touching on the strategy component. It kind of ties into some of the other discussions that have come out of the DAO retreat. Things like, like yesterday's SMART goals discussion was a really interesting sort of, I think, kind of precursor or something that will feed into these broader strategy discussions, because the question is, given these SMART goals, which have all these wonderful attributes about being, measurable and realistic and all that good stuff, is our strategy aligned to make that happen? What big picture pieces have to fall into place to really make that happen? And what sort of outside forces should we be aware of? How can we mitigate certain threats? So that'll be a fun discussion to carry forward. Look for that to happen later this month. Also focusing on the research element, specifically around layer 2 and rollups, because I see that as getting the lion's share of liquidity and transactional throughput, or just overall transactions relative to alt L1s in the year ahead. So 2 important clarifications here. One is in terms of the runway. So when I posted this, I had updated the runway given a projected monthly spend of 200K roughly. The important change here is factoring in some infrastructure expenses that have come to light more recently, and that I was able to clarify with the engineering team, specifically like around the taxi stake partnership. Those are a sort of new addition to the budget that did not really exist previously. You may have heard recently, like in some of the discussions, how that was actually part of the Fox Foundation formerly. So now the DAO's taking on those costs. I've added those in. That, of course, has the impact of slightly decreasing our runway. So before I talked about 10 to 11 months, now it's at squarely 10 months, which is certainly a tenable position. And I think there's ways to preserve and even extend that runway depending on how we want to move forward. I talked about that on Tuesday during our in-depth discussion. Also, there is a really good post to the forum. It just had it titled "Random Questions." It wasn't in the thread I posted, but it was specifically related to the proposal by an anonymous poster, kind of talking about some questions about like higher level stuff. Like, okay, if the token is down so much, how do you consider and how do you rate the performance of the tokenomics workstream? Kind of the idea is like, could that potentially sort of reflect on some bad choices, and what is a connection between the token price and what tokenomics is doing, and some other questions about some things we did around like the Rari loan, Ichi, One Fox, Yieldies, and asked some really good critical probing questions. So bit of a discussion there, or at least some good questions, and I gave some responses on that. So if you want more context, please check that out. The clarifying point on this is I had mentioned initially in that post, and then also I believe on the tokenomics call once or twice, that we had paid around or over 4 million in debt service costs for Rari. This was actually an error to say that. In fact, we wound up paying a little over 4 million for both paying back the principal and the interest. The interest alone comprised a much smaller amount. I lost the specific amount here. Oh, it was 356,000 Fey roughly. So of course that is a lot, to be paying for interest, but it's a far cry from the 4 million that that figure I gave before, kind of conflating the two. I want to be very specific about that. So thanks to John and Willie for helping me arrive at that figure and pointing that out.
Can I hop in there for just like even more further clarification for specificity? So is that the ins versus out? It was like 4 million in and then 4,300,000 out.
Exactly.
In terms of,
yeah.
Okay.
So let's see here. We paid a total of 3,980,000 Fey towards, this is both pool 7 and 79, while making 356,000. So yeah, the way you characterize that is correct. And if you want to see that specific on-chain data, I linked to those contracts. So if you add it all up, we transferred a total of 4.3 million. But kind of the key takeaway here is that the overall interest was less than I portrayed it to be. But still, I think a valuable lesson with respect to avoiding high APY loans, and something that we're very mindful of in engaging with Arbor, which is a long-term fixed rate loan, which is a big contrast to Rari. So yeah, please, if anybody has any other questions or thoughts along those lines, let me know. If the ideation portion passes, that will be tomorrow. It's active through tomorrow. If it does pass, I'll be moving that to live vote Friday or Saturday. So yeah, thanks everybody.
Yeah, thank you, Kent, and thank you additionally for addressing that anonymous post as well. That was kind of directed at your proposal. So looks like there's still ample time for people to communicate more things in the forum as well, and start putting their votes towards your ideation post.
Absolutely. Cool.
Yeah, thanks for doing all the math. And deepest apologies to Darwin for my naive accounting vocabulary.
Darwin's a rock star.
This one goes until January 13th, so you have one more day to, if I can move my screen so I can see. Yeah, you've got, looks like a little less than a day since tomorrow morning MST. So please, if you have not voted for this, plug in your wallets and click a vote for us. The next active ideation post I have up here is SCP-123. Ooh, now my slides are going too fast. SCP-123, which is the marketing workstream renewal from February through August. We've got H. Payne presenting that. Let's see if we can bring you up on stage, sir. GM,
Hello?
sir.
GM. What can I do for you?
Well, we've got your ideation post up here right now, and we're
Absolutely.
just chatting governance-wise. So I don't know if there's anything specifically you wanted to highlight. I've got just I just copy and pasted the benefits out of the section there. I know there's been some kind of greater discussion in the last governance call when the incubation phase for global happened, and I know you're now full in ideation here. So I don't know if there was some changes that were made that you might want to highlight, or anything in depth that you wanted to chat with the rest of the community about.
Yeah, totally. So I guess the big things to take note here in the ideation versus incubation, the new proposal, but the new proposed budget is smaller. So we're actually taking a budget cut compared to last term, a 4.1% decrease, with a total cost of $236,670 across the board. So that's a huge win, I suppose, with some further budget austerity, I suppose, or mindfulness there, while still being able to retain our workforce, but also increase and ramp up our productivity, and sort of our specific thing. And sort of as we're trying to get more specific and more granular with getting some actual tangible traction going, we're really trying to put the hammer down on Thorchain conversions, specifically looking at having some KPIs related to increasing our Thorchain volume, doubling it essentially by the end of our first quarter. And then also by the time savers go live, having 30% of the vaults interact with the vaults via our interface by within 3 to 4 months after deployment. So that's super fun. We also, what's really exciting, I think, this term, differentiating this term to next term is the mindfulness of generating revenue, or at least generating some sort of offset, which is largely why I was able to reduce the budget by 4%, and also the plans to generate probably roughly around $100,000. I know it's a very small amount, but if we could generate around $100,000 to $120,000 by the end of our term, that would be sweet. And that's really the biggest thing is I would like to subsidize at least 50%. It's sort of a stretch goal, blue sky goal, give you have you will. 50% of marketing's requested spend to be subsidized by a partner, and ideally, all that spillover stuff gets sent back to the DAO. So that's what I'm going for. Taking the little tiny baby steps before we start running. I know there's lots of conversations about monetization and all that stuff. I'm a very strong believer in trying to leverage some of those partnership aspects and co-marketing aspects to try to get some of that sauce over here. And by sauce, I mean cheddar and dollars, or coins rather, tokens. So that's very fun. Those are like the big highlighting points. Please check out the ideation post. That's essentially the two big changes there. And yeah, we're looking forward to sticking around for another 6 months potentially, should you guys want us to keep doing the stuff. Thank you. That's all I got.
Yes. Thanks, H-Pain. Yeah, and I just wanted to put in 2 cents here at the end while you're up on stage too, that in my time with you guys and the team, it was really unreal to see the dedication and hard work you guys were willing to put in, and willingness to be adaptable to change. So I am so proud of all that you guys have kind of done in the short time that I've spent with you, and the ways in which you've turned things around, and you've exuded extremely great leadership qualities throughout all of it. So yeah, just wanted to throw some accolades after spending my time with you guys and showing that you guys really are the lean machine, and the data is proving it, that you've all put together there.
Thank you, sir. It's a wonderful team. I have a pleasure to work with. I'm really happy everyone is stuck around and chosen to stick around. It's definitely a priority of mine to retain the talent we have, at least the best I can. And I'm happy they're choosing to stay around too, because I know there's lots of other options for them out in the wide world. So very happy to continue to try to trim budget and be mindful of runway as we're moving forward in this whole thing.
All right, well, thank you, sir. This one goes until the 19th, so we've got 7 days for voting. So please use the forum to talk about this if you've got some ideas you'd like to say in the ideation phase, but also you can plug in your wallets over at Snapshot and give a vote using your Fox. I can never tell if when I click my slide's about to go over to the next one and it's just thinking or not. Let's try this again. There we go. Cool. Now we're on to new forum posts. Got Giantkin up with a new post. Anonymous one. Looks like he's not here in the call, but we did kind of address that previously when Kent was on stage. Never Was, The Smith, and myself. Don't have to go in any order here, so we can kind of first come, first serve with people who want to hop up on the stage and chat about things.
I'm gonna seize the moment and hit this button, like jump on the stage that I have in my screen.
GM, sir, thank you for hopping up and seizing the moment.
Thank you. Yeah, as I come to the stage to speak a little bit more about our reincubation. So the reincubation was a really valuable exercise in which we had the opportunity, to put together a proposal together with the community. So in my point of view, we managed to balance community concerns and challenging goals in this new document. So this re-incubation in particular brought important reflections that all of us as DAO members must do, especially as leaders, in my opinion. And overall, we managed to reach a significant reduction in the whole WordStream budget, and mainly in stable coins. I mean, we are asking for around 5.5K monthly in stables, the entire WordStream to be activated. I also believe that the new globalization WordStream can be the leanest work group in the organization with this new proposal. So as I mentioned, we even with this lean budget, we are betting on people's talent, establish challenging goals, despite conversations about globalization being a marked in WordStream or not. I try to reinforce the importance of globalization role in all communications that takes place in the organization. And this means that we will be following the organization's roadmap. We are really excited to work around it. That this roadmap is also delivered by the other work streams that are, work tirelessly in several features. And I see that now we as organization, we are, reaching a horizon. We are looking to ourselves and trying to establish the best product fit among our users. And maybe that was the most powerful knowledge I realized it so far during this re-incubation period. So we are really excited to spend our efforts, our human resources, despite the lean budget, on the ShapeShift roadmap, mainly on strategic points of interest that DAO could bring to us. So for not taking so many times the stage, like a monologue, I would like to thank all the comments and feedbacks that helped us to bring a more effective proposal. And at the same time, I should remain open for questions or suggestions. I see that there is still 1 or 2 questions on the forum that I will be happy to answer if anyone needs further clarification. That's all about the new re-incubation. Thanks.
Thank you, Smith, and I appreciate your willingness to continue to address any of those feedback, concerns, and things and comments inside the forum. And also really appreciate you and Vlad and the rest of the team putting up another proposal after going through kind of the ringer that you guys did. There's a lot of conversations there that were about your work stream, but also kind of ones that ended up being fundamentally more about strategy beyond that. And it was really nice to see you guys be so collaborative and constructive in these conversations, and to see you so quickly turn around and take that feedback to heart in your proposal.
Yes, we are willing to build together, and keep continuing building what we started at least 1 year ago. And thank you for all the feedbacks too, Tyler. I'm really excited to see how this new proposal will perform in the governance. Thank you.
And because this is a new post of re-incubation, we'll probably start that timeline over for incubation before it could go over to ideation. So there's still some time to get your voice and feedback in there before this becomes an official proposal of any kind. All right, we still got a couple more. I can go if you'd like. We've also got Never Was in GK. The proposal that I have in incubation is renewing the operations workstream for a 4th term. The operations workstream's budget will run out at the end of this month. So this is for us to extend that salaries and all operations and things like that for another 6 months until the end of July. The total budget ask for the work stream that we're looking at right now is $262,500, which is coming in at just over 20% less than the last term. And the big changes that this was made to do inside there come from kind of an optimization and reduction of tasks and roles in the operations work stream. Things like the bounty program, unsolved user problems, marketing reviews, and content creation used to have a lot more in-depth involvement of operations assistants to make sure that they were admin properly maintained and continuing their intentions successfully, as well as the deployment process has been something that DeFi and the engineering team and myself and ops have been working really closely to continually iterate on. And all of the optimizations and iterations of our processes have led to more successful, more effective, and efficient methods that require less oversight and less hands. And so when putting all of this proposal together and looking at kind of the need based on the other work streams, 6 months ago, the work streams had teams that were much bigger as well, and now the teams are much smaller. So in response to a lot of kind of changes that are going on with the DAO and just a sheer match of the responsibilities and need, there were 2 ops assistants, Lich and Never Was, who were offered severance but were not continued on as part of the next proposal. So there's some details about kind of the KPIs that we've hit. There's some KPIs that we've actually, honestly, to be fair, missed. Our triage one and our prod issue uptime, we did not hit 99% uptime over the course of what we're doing there. We had some issues in our migration as we moved over. And then the triage as well, our process in triage and the management of triage with unsolved user problems kind of being archived has meant that the way in which we track all of our tickets and get them solved is not in the same kind of meticulous manner. And in some ways, a lot of our triage tickets have gone unanswered or maybe resolved in another manner that they weren't addressed back at. And yeah, that's really what's going on with the operations workstream renewal. Happy to answer questions if people want to drop in the stage chat or hop on the stage and chat about it. But if there are no questions, we can just pass it off to GK who's next.
GM, mine's pretty quick. The proposal discussion direction. I linked both of the 2 different forum channel thread systems. One is a proposal discussion that I did earlier. Every snapshot ideation actually, I am putting up a new chat in there. Figure we can discuss it in there. And then the active proposal instead, every time it hits snapshot, the bot automatically posts in there, and we're going to try to do a thread underneath. I don't know which way is better. So it's an experiment. That was what that post was mostly about. Apologizing for any confusion this will cause. That's all. Oh, any questions?
No, just to say thank you, GK, for being transparent and open and posting that outside of the Discord so people can know what's going on for those that are kind of engaging with us. Lots of people don't do it in the same way as a lot of the contributors here do, where we're plugged into everything. Some people just get their information from one source. So I appreciate you kind of continually optimizing here at the Discord and making sure that you're getting transparency and communication with the rest of the community along with it. So thank you very much for all that you're doing there. Is there plans for this to have some form of formal process and governance, or just an acknowledgement to the rest of the community about a potential change?
It was just an acknowledgement to the, let me know which way is better. How, because I do have like a topic in each one. It says, hey, this is what I'm trying. Do you like this way better? Both have advantages, and disadvantages.
Cool. So more so a call to action of anyone on the call here now. If you're going to be in the many phases of governance, there are some ways in which you can use the Discord new threads to your advantage. So yeah, scope out what GK has kind of made for us here when you're in your process, and let him or us know what you think so we can make sure that we're doing the best in the process. Thank you, sir.
Hey, Tyler. I didn't have an opportunity because I know GK had to get into his, but I know you had opened up your proposal to questions. I saw that there
Sure.
was a recent post. I forgot the user's name, and I don't know. I don't identify it with someone that might be on the call here. But there was a post that I had a question about as well. But they brought it up before I had a chance to post. I did notice that there was an increase in the workstream leaders salary, as well as a 50% cut in Fox allocation. Just curious your thoughts on and reasoning for that in the time of DAO austerity, and that everyone to deal with the austerity that comes with it. Just curious about your thoughts on it.
Yeah, sure. And I did see the post and was just kind of have been on the stage or hosting calls or building decks all day. So was actually in the midst of responding and recognized that I was 3 minutes late to starting this call. But if you look at the average salary for an operations director in the United States right now, you will see that the bottom 10% are making over $150,000 a year, and the average mean is $183,000 a year. I've been making $150,000 a year if you consider our terms as an annual salary for the last 14 months. One of the opportunities that I had to maybe get a pay raise in the last term, I forwent that to make sure that everyone on the operations work stream could get a little bit of a pay bump inside what they were making instead. And then there was an acknowledgement that with the kind of reduction of tasks and things like that, doesn't that also translate to the work stream leader? And I would actually challenge that and say no. And I will, a lot of this will be in the post that I hit enter on once we're off this call. But there's been 4 or 5 years. Additionally, there was a time that I was filling 2 seats of 2 workstream leader roles at the same time. And through that course, I hope have proven to the DAO my leadership skills, my ability to help provide value to the DAO. And this is simply just an ask for me to be considered and acknowledged kind of closer to somewhat close to fair market value. It still is under market value, but that's the justification for the raise there.
Okay. I mean, yeah, I'll let you post further in the forum. I'm sure you'll be able to kind of expand upon that as you stated, but I think I don't know. I mean, hey, and anyone can say whatever they want. I'm hoping that others in the community that have been very staunch on this will speak up as well, and it doesn't just come from me and an anonymous. I mean, I don't know if it's an anonymous person. I don't know who they are, but anyways, market value during a bear market in crypto that does not translate to traditional roles in corporations and salaries. I think this kind of comes back to the initial, like, real conversations that were had with Eric Voorhees in the beginning about entrepreneurship and the understanding of kind of like the expectations of a role in as an entrepreneur versus a role at a traditional organization, and compensation that follows along with that. Obviously, people may have their opinions on that and see it differently as contributors or as DAO members, but I mean, we've been hearing constantly and over that, we are in very hard economic times in a bull market or in a bear market in crypto, and it's a crypto winter, and runway, and then it's like, well, now I want to be appreciated. I mean, hey, it's fine. The DAO will vote for it. I just thought it was a little odd, um, given circumstance and such. Yeah, but I'll leave it at that. If anyone else wants to say anything on stage chat or whatever, and then I'll go into my thread if you like, or if you
I mean,
want.
if I could have another second to respond,
Yep.
I do firmly stand behind the value that I have created and put forward in this DAO. I believe that there are quite a few contributors here that are making more than I'm currently making as a workstream leader. That and I have been taking the haircut and am in such the same entrepreneurial spirit that has been communicated from Eric and shared and other people here with taking ownership inside what happens here. And I feel like I display that in almost everything I touch while here at the DAO. This is an ask for an acknowledgement of the fact that I did do some pretty deep kind of ownership in that space and took 40% of my paycheck in Fox last period while not being in the same position as many of the other people on their car are not being in the same position financially as many other people are on this call. So I
don't.
just want to
Okay, I mean
defend myself a little bit in the quality
that's
that I put out and the value that I've been giving the DAO at the below market rate that I have been paid for as long as I have been paid for.
I mean, that's fine. Like I said, I don't see what other people's comparisons in the DAO and what they make matters to an individual who's an entrepreneur. But then again, like I said, people see things as, different viewpoint on that. So that's fine. Don't want to beat a dead horse. I will, respond in the forum. And I'm not here to say that the value is not there. But I I will leave it to the forum. Sorry. Okay. My post.
I mean, it kind of certainly feels like you are. We don't need to get into an argument about it, but let's leave it at the forum post.
Yeah, for sure. So okay, my post. Fear decisions made out of fear versus logic. I know there's. Thank you first off for everyone willing to um, comment, have the part of the conversation, for or against. If you don't see it as something that's happening, thank you for all of the correspondence and posts in there. I appreciate it. So I mean, I know that it's been stated in there that I'm might be like coming to this because of recent things or whatever, but I don't know. It's very obvious that I've been saying this for 6+ months, even more than that. This is a trend that I noted during the last time the renewals were happening. And I know that a lot of people have said that they don't believe that the emotion of fear is playing into maybe like decisions or determinations of how they can move forward and get things accomplished within the DAO. That's fine. Each person sees it a little bit differently in their perspective, obviously. I have quite a few situations where I can say that I was aware of this firsthand. I've had other people say that they have seen this. So I don't want everyone to be like, oh, never was. You're just reaching for stars because you're upset about something. First off, I don't get upset like that. I don't need to. But second off, I would think that to dismiss this and to think that fear does not play a large role in the way in people's actions and how they come about in resolving their actions versus like a logical strategy or a way of actually being able to put things in um, uh, a place of logic versus a very visceral gut reaction. And this can be seen in like decisions that are made and changed within a very short period of time. Because if you're going to make a strategic or a logical decision, you're going to plan it out. You're going to take the time to, build that process and come to a conclusion and test it and have the data and everything to back it up. Versus a change where it's like one day it's this, next day it's this, next day it's this, next day it's that. It's very, very dangerous for high level decisions to be made that way. And this is me coming from a very an executive level position where if I was running a $1 billion organization, for me to like make that decision like one day and then reverse it or change it or do the exact opposite or something like that, it's not seen as a very good management profile or whatever. So, I mean, I brought this article to the forum as a question to the community that, as this can take hold and grow, it leads to compounding issues and more issues going forward. And that's the basics of it. Like I said, a lot of people have weighed in. A lot of people don't recognize this within the DAO, don't see it as being a problem, don't see it as being attributed to anything, and that's fine. But I've, like I said, I've had many years of upper level management existence and can recognize trends and can recognize things very quickly. And this is something that I've said for a long period of time now, and I pointed out that this is a cautionary thing, and people are free to do as they choose. Work stream leaders are free to manage how they'd like to manage their teams. I know people have stated that I said that we should try to have the maximum amount of people and fill seats or whatever. I'm sorry, I'm not reading it right now, but I don't know anyone that can say I've ever said that in any conversation. I'm all about effectiveness and efficiency, capacity and capability. If you are mixing capacity and an individual's capacity or a group's or organization's capacity and capability with filling seats, then I don't really know if you understand what the management terms of capacity and capability and how it applies to teams works. But like I said, I could be mistaken in that I'm assuming that that was what was stated in there when the comments were made. But yeah, I will open it up to anyone else who would like to questions or whatever. Oh, I'm sorry, I'm looking at the stage chat, but anyone else who's would like to comment, please do. I'm reading the comments right now. Give me a second. But yeah, if anyone, Tyler or anyone else, I know Tyler that you had posted on there, and you had spoken about a little bit about transparency and basically saying that I was mistaken in my assumption of it. I haven't seen you respond in the forum. Would you like to take the opportunity now to respond?
I think for the sake of the fact that we only have 9 minutes left with the call and we still have other topics to get to, the best thing we can do is direct any more conversation around this to the forum and move on and give some time to the other folks that would like to talk as well. So thank you very much, everyone, for chatting about this and putting some of your text to words here for us with your voice. And we look forward to seeing this conversation continue in the forum.
Thanks for the time. Thanks for the time, Tyler.
Of course. We've got just some time in case there were last conversations that wanted to be had around posts that are old forum posts, not forgotten about, maybe just still in conversation in the forum or waiting to get some sort of direction before they can become an ideation post. I know that Ocean, his adding fees to Thorchain swaps was something that he wanted to chat about. So we'll start with that. James, or?
Yeah, I'm Tyler. Yeah, so I basically just wanted to try to get some feedback from the community. So that that post is up there. I think that there's generally some support for it to move forward. Yesterday there was a conversation around goals. Some of those goals, but I think if we don't all align, that's a worse outcome. So I wanted to, and those goals specifically were about growing monthly active users to 1 million people by June. And so I think it's worth us trying to determine if we want to move forward with the goals discussion and that moving towards governance, or if we want to keep the fee discussion alive and moving that towards next steps in governance. I don't want to make that decision. I want feedback and would love if anyone has thoughts on what they'd like to see next.
Yeah, I feel like both sides have really weighed in on this conversation, and my thoughts on it, I'm just one contributor here, would be that we're definitely ready to start seeing some Fox folks votes around this. And I can see that, yeah, Willie says, let's just put it to bed. It sounds like there's the options are really open here for you. But it has gone through enough of the time in incubation that if you wanted to take it over to ideation, I think it'd be ready and willing to get some Fox votes behind it.
Cool. I like that idea. Also, Pasta, I think your point's a great one. And obviously we still have time. Like I think it's important that it's moved slowly also. So maybe if generally that's kind of the feedback, I'm happy to take the current post, revise it to the bit of feedback that I think was kind of aligned on in the comments. I think Josh had some great comments there about success criteria and like what would make us roll back the experiment. I think there were some comments in there about what the treasury funds would be used for. And I think there's one other maybe typo in there. So I can make all those changes, repost it, and leave the poll on Snapchat open for maybe 2 weeks, 3 weeks, and give us time also to have another community call specifically on the topic. If that sounds like what we all want collectively, I'm happy to do that.
Yeah, kind of like Willie here. I'm personally one who thinks we've had this conversation so much that I'm not sure what more could be had of it, but it does seem like there are some folks out there in the stage chat that are interested in this being a community call. So maybe as you're working through the draft for this for incubation, we can equally work with the mod squad on getting something on the calendar, maybe next week or the following, to go once more down the fee rabbit hole.
Okay, so that's good. Then we'll go that route.
Sounds great. Awesome. Well, thank you, Ocean. We still have 3 other posts here from old forum posts that haven't moved over to ideation yet. Still awaiting feedback and communication, but if Willie on Fox voting power or Vlad on changing Foxy voting power to 1.2 times vote, or PTT's Treasury signed selection committee and formalizing the signing process. Anyone wants to hop up here and chat about the status of these posts? We've got a couple more minutes before the call is up. Looks like no additional things are going to be added about these ones now, at least on this call. I would imagine there might be some more details added in the forum post later, but it looks like that's what we're going to be chatting about on this governance call. So I will say my goodbyes now. Thank you all very much for joining us for this hour. Thank you all for the troopers who've been on the stage all day today. It's been a big day of calls. You've all done great here, and do what you can to make your voice heard in the forum, and your votes matter when you plug in your wallets to vote for these proposals in these incubation phases. And we will see you next week for another governance call. Make it a good GM, fam.